giving you a lesson on measurement and graphs. And so to start the lesson, let's start off with a quick poll. How many, by showing a raise of your hands, how many of you liked the movie Moana? Okay, so 4. So right here I'm going to write Moana and 4. How many of you liked the movie Coco? 2. All right. Coco, 2. How many liked the movie Wreck-It Ralph? Nobody? Nobody liked the movie Wreck-It Ralph? All right. Just going to write Wreck, 0. I'm going to move this over here. How many liked the movie Fantastic Beasts? Oh, okay. So 10. I'm just going to write Beasts. 10. All right, how many liked the movie Incredibles 2? Right. So I'm going to write Incred 2. That might be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to write Incredibles. Do that symbol right there, which is the Roman numeral symbol for the number 2. So raise your hands again. How many? Okay. So 5. How many liked the movie Goosebumps? I really liked that one. That one was one of my favorites. So Goosebumps. All right, and that was 8 of you. Okay. How many liked the movie Trolls? That was another one that I really liked. Trolls. All right, so I'm just going to write Trolls down here. And 6 of you. And how many liked the movie Zootopia? All right. Just going to write Zoo for short. That was 3 of you. And how many liked the movie The Jungle Book? Not the old cartoon. Y'all probably don't know what that is, but the new one. Okay. So I'm just going to write Jungle. And that was 8 of you. And then how many of you liked the movie Hotel Transylvania? Okay. All right. I'm just going to write Hotel for short. All right. So what we did just now was take a poll just to kind of find out how many of you, which movies you liked. Now, from looking at this, can anybody tell me which movie everybody liked the most? Okay? Okay, yes. The Beasts, so Fantastic Beasts. And why did they like it the most? How do you know that? Because it has the largest number. That's right. It has the number 10 here, so that's the largest number. So that's how you know which one was liked the most. Which one did people like the least? Okay, that's right, Wreck-It Ralph. And how do you know that? Because nobody liked Wreck-It Ralph apparently. So, were there any that were tied? Did any of the movies tie? Can anybody tell me? A tie is when the numbers are the same. Okay, so what are we thinking? Coco for 2. Anybody else? Hotel, yep, they got 2, so that's a tie. And then any other ties? Jungle Book had 8, and Goosebumps had 8 too. So then, from looking at these numbers, we can see the highest and the lowest, and then we can also see that there were some movies that were tied. But looking at this, it's a little bit junky. So there's a lot going on. You have to look at each of the labels, and then you have to look at the numbers, and then when you're trying to get an overall sense of how many people liked it, how many people didn't, and kind of understand this as a whole picture of what was everybody's favorite movie, it can be a little bit disorienting. So then this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to put it into a graph. And that is going to make it a little bit easier to understand. So I'm going to take this paper and I'm just going to write down really fast. Moana was 4, Coco was 2, Wreck-It Ralph was 0, Beast was 10, Incredibles 2 was 5, Goosebumps was 8, Trolls was 6, Zoo was 3, Jungle was 8, and Hotel was 2. So I'm going to erase my board here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a graph to try and represent all of that data in a graph. So the way that you start off, you've probably seen graphs before. How many people have seen a graph before? Okay, where have you seen them? Like magazines, maybe on television. Okay, so those are really good. Okay. So what does a graph look like? What does it look like? Kind of looks like an L, right? It kind of, a bar goes down like this, and then there's a line that goes across like this, okay? And what normally goes along this side? Does anybody know? Numbers, that's right. So let's look at our data. We have how many students in the class? 20, so we can't go, everybody voted, so we can't go above 20. So we'll make our top number 20, and you always start at 0. So this down here is going to be 0. And then we'll move up counting by 5s. Can everybody count by 5 with me? Okay, ready? I'm going to move my 5 up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do 5, 10, 15, and then we already wrote our 20 up here. So we have this. Now what goes along here? So if these are the numbers or the count of how many people liked the movies, what do you think goes down here along this line down here? The names of the movies, that's right. Because if we just drew something here, how would we know, okay, something was 15, but what was 15? We wouldn't know, right? So we have to write the name of the movies down here. So we've got a lot of movies here, so I'm just going to try and make it easy. So Moana, Coco, Wreck-It Ralph, Fantastic Beasts, we'll make that FB, Incredibles 2, Goosebumps, Trolls, Zootopia, The Jungle Book, and then, what was our last one? Hotel Transylvania, so we'll make it HT. All right. So, right here, coming down, we have our numbers, and right here, going across the bottom, we have the movies that we took the poll on. So, looking at our data, which I have written right here, I'm going to start with Moana. So 4 students decided that they liked the movie Moana. So what we do is we're going to create a bar graph. A bar graph is, it's going to have little bars, kind of like little buildings, that are coming up from the bottom, and they go up the number of times that the people voted for them. So we don't have the number 4 here. So we have to kind of just guess where it would be. So, where do you think, where would the number 4 be? Would it be below the 5 or above the 5? Okay, yeah, it would be below the 5, that's right, because it goes 5, 10, 15, 20. So we're counting up as it goes up. So Moana was 4, so I'm kind of just going to draw a little building here, and I'm going to color it in. Put it just kind of like right below the number 5 there. Coco was 2. So we're going to draw another building, make it a little bit lower, because this was number 4. Wreck-It Ralph had 0. So what do you think we do when there's 0? We don't draw anything, do we? That's right, because this line down here represents 0. You see our 0 right here? So when there's no data, we just leave it blank. Okay? So what was B? Forgot already. Fantastic Beasts. No? Yes, Fantastic Beasts. So Fantastic Beasts, a lot of people like that. So that was 10. So we're going to go all the way up, and we're going to kind of eyeball where the 10 would be. We're going to come across. Oh, I did it on Wreck-It Ralph. See? Thank you. Thank you for telling me. So I'm sorry about that. So we're going to go to here. And again, we're going to kind of eyeball where the 10 is. I'm going to color that in. Incredibles 2 is 5. So I'm just going to kind of draw that up. And Goosebumps was 8. So we're going to go kind of like right a little bit below the 10. I'm going to kind of color that in. Trolls was 6. A little bit above 5 there. Zootopia was 3. Kind of go like that. The Jungle Book was 8. Kind of go up to the 10 there. And then Transylvania was only 2. I'm surprised. I really liked Hotel Transylvania. Okay, so I'm just coloring these in a little bit better so we can kind of see them a little bit better. So now, looking at this, is this a little bit easier to understand and to see which movie was everybody's favorite, which movie was nobody liked and nobody's favorite, and then which one was tied. So from here, which one was everybody's favorite? This one? Fantastic Beasts, that's right. So before, when we were looking at the data, this was the number 10, right? So we said that this was everybody's favorite, and you can tell it's everybody's favorite because this bar right here that we drew, the little building, it's taller and bigger than all the other bars on the graph. So it's just quick and easy. You can immediately tell from looking at this graph, oh, that one's the tallest. That means that that's the one that everybody liked the best. And then our lowest one, again, just by looking at this, you can tell was Wreck-It Ralph, because Wreck-It Ralph had 0 and there's nothing here. So we can immediately see that. And then some of the other ones that you can see, Zootopia and Hotel Transylvania, they're even. They're the same. So you can see that these two bars are same. They're even. And so you know these two were tied. They had the same number. So this is just a difference between, if you look at this, which just has numbers and it just has the names of the movies, versus this, where you can see very clearly which one was the highest, which one was the lowest, and then if there were any ties. So this is just showing you that looking at graphs is a lot easier than just looking at a jumble of numbers and words. So I'm going to erase this real fast. Okay. All right. Okay. So here in just a second, y'all are going to get the ability to do your own graphs and to measure some items that are around the classroom. But right now, we're going to go over a couple of things. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to pass out this test. Now don't get freaked out that it's called a test. This is just a pre-test to determine how much you already know, how smart you already are about graphs and about data and about measuring items. So if you'll notice here, I have 4, there's 4 multiple choice questions, and there's 1 fill in the blank question. You need to put your name right up here at the top. And then down here, there's a graph. And this is just a graph that was made up. It says pet survey. And it's just like the graph that we just drew, the bar graph. It has numbers up the side. It has the type of animal along the bottom. And then it has bars. And so what I want you to do with this, and it's okay if you don't know, just try and think about it. This is just to assess how much knowledge you have and to know what we need to go over. So I want you to, if you'll notice, there's certain areas of the graph that are labeled. And so what I want you to do is I want you to look at A here, and whatever this is called, I want you to write it here on this number, on this bar or this line that's below the letter A. B, the same thing. It's pointing at the words pet survey here. So right over here on this line, I want you to write what that is on this graph. So we're just going to do the multiple choice questions, and then you're going to label the graph. Okay? So, and it's something that you're going to use multiple times throughout school, and then even when you become an adult. So I asked if everybody's seen some graphs, and I'm sure you all said you have before. So the reason that we're going to talk about measurement and about graphs is because of how important it is. And the thing about measuring and about collecting data, so the survey that I just collected from y'all, where we just kind of measured what movies you liked, and then we presented it. So that's what scientists do. So scientists, they take data, they take polls, that's what that's called, a survey. They take polls and they go out and they ask people questions, and then they take all of the answers that they get and they wrap it all up and they count the numbers and then they display it out in graph form. Now sometimes the scientists and the surveys that they do and the research projects that they do, they present these and decisions are made about these things. Doctors' decisions are made about them. Medication decisions are made about them. The president makes decisions. Schools make decisions. So when you present data, it's very important that you're honest about it. So you cannot make something up when you present the data, because that would be dishonest. And then decisions could be made about things that aren't really true. So it can really, really affect things. So scientists, people who do research, doctors, they all have to be completely truthful and honest. And so that's what I want you to do. If you ever have a project that you have to say, you say, I don't think it's going to rain more than 2 inches. And then it does rain more than 2 inches, and you keep track of it every day, and it actually does rain more. Even though you're wrong, you still have to present what you found ethically and truthfully. So that's really important. So that's something I want you to keep in your mind as we're doing these surveys and as we're learning about graphs and about measuring. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you a quick video on measuring and how to properly measure. So here we go.
Using a ruler to measure inches. We learn to measure. Here's my problem. I wanted to figure out the length of my pencil. I tried to measure correctly, but I kept getting different answers. Let me show you what I did. My first try, I got 6 inches. Do you see something wrong? My second try, I got 8 inches. Do you see something wrong? On my third try, I got 18 inches. Do you see something wrong? Oh, I think I understand. So I have to make sure I line up the object with the ruler. I have to start right at 0, and I have to pay attention to the unit to make sure that I'm using inches and not centimeters. Okay, so let's see. I put my pencil straight across the ruler. I started right at 0. And I made sure that I was using inches and not centimeters. So the pencil is 7 inches long. Awesome! Thanks for helping me learn how to measure. Maybe when you try to measure, you can use these same rules.
All right. So let me close it out real fast. Okay. So did everybody understand? This was just a lesson on excuse me, how to properly use a ruler. So let me just finish writing this real fast. All right. So now, just to reiterate the video that we just watched, we're going to go over a ruler. So this is a ruler, everybody. See-through, obviously. Not all rulers are. I'm sure y'all have seen the wooden ones, and there's even really, really big, long metal ones. And has anybody ever seen one of these? What's this called? It's a tape measure. Who would use one of these? Somebody maybe who's building a house? Has anybody here ever used one? Have you seen your dad or your mom ever use one? Yep. So this is just like a ruler. It has measurements and numbers on it, and you use it to measure things. It's just, if you'll notice, it's super, super, super long. So you see how long this is compared to this little tiny ruler. So you use something like a tape measure to measure really, really big things. All right, so, but for now, we're just going to talk about the ruler. So, what we're going to talk about is, if you notice, there's numbers along the top here, and then there's more numbers along the bottom. And what you can see here are the numbers along the top, they go from 1 to 12. If you flip it over, these other numbers go from 1 to 30. So how can something be 12 on the top and 30 on the bottom? That's right, there's different lengths of measurement on here. So this one that has the fewer numbers and less dashes, this is inches. So a ruler is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 inches, okay? And then 12 inches is, this side is centimeters. And so a ruler is 30 centimeters. So 12 inches, the big numbers along here, 30 centimeters. So when you're measuring something, what we want to measure in is we're going to measure in inches today. Okay, so we've gone over that, and does everybody remember from the video how we need to measure? So let me see what I'm going to measure my eraser here, okay? So how do I measure? Do I measure like this? No. What's the first thing I should do when I measure something? We just talked about the difference in the numbers here and that we want to use inches. So what's the first thing that I should do? I should line up what I'm measuring with the inches side. That's right, because if I use the centimeter side, I'm going to get a different number. So I've got my inches side here, and I'm going to stick it up against my eraser. Is this right? No. Is this right? Do I put it at the 12 and then measure? No. Just like in the video, you take your ruler, you put it at the edge, the bottom edge, you line up the edge, and then you measure it. So I'm going to put it on the table here, and everybody can watch. Slide it up here. And so my eraser goes to the number 4. So my eraser went to this line right here, the number 4. Okay? So what does that mean? I'm measuring in inches, and the eraser went as long as this number 4. What does that mean? That's right, that I have 4 inches, okay? That my eraser right here is 4 inches what? Long. That's right, it's 4 inches long. Okay, so we just went over how to measure, and what I'm going to do in just a second is y'all are going to have the chance to walk around the room, and you're going to measure a couple things. But first, before we do that, we're going to go back to our graphs. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is, just like in the assessment that I gave you, the test that I gave you, there was a blank graph on there, and there were certain pieces of the graph that you needed to label. So I've drawn a graph here that has different pieces on it. And then we're going to go through, and we are going to measure the pieces. And I forgot to make myself some data here. So just going to make that real fast. All right, so does anybody want to tell me what this was? Remember in the test, this was called Pet Survey. What is this right here? Okay, that's okay, everybody. This up here, which is months. This is months because why? Why is it months? Oh, not months. Oh my goodness. Seasons. Oh, man. Okay. Seasons. Why is it seasons? That's right, because down here along the bottom, I have summer, winter, fall. And what are those? Seasons. So, this up here is going to be called the title. This is the title of my graph. Okay? So, what I want everybody to do is I want you to take out a sheet from your math notebook, and I want you to draw a graph, just like mine. And at the top, where you write seasons, I want you to write title. Okay? All right. So then, you know the L that we have here? These two lines that look like an L? Both of these have names as well. This one that goes really, really tall. It goes vertical. Okay, this is called the y-axis. All right, and it's just y, and you do a dash, and then axis. That is the y-axis. And one way that you can remember the y-axis is that when you draw a y, it has a line that goes down like this. Okay? So you can remember the y goes down. Okay? So this is the y-axis. And then this, right here, this line is the x-axis. So label that on your graphs. Okay? And then we've got these tall buildings right here. What are these called? What are these called? Bars. These are our bars. So we're just going to write bars right there. And when you see a graph that has these bars on it that go up and down like buildings, this means it's a bar graph. So the bars make it a bar graph. Okay? And then right down here, finally, these right here, my seasons that I have down here. What is this called? What would we be able to tell from the graph if these weren't here? We'd be able to tell that whatever this was, people liked the most. We'd be able to tell whatever this was, people liked it the least. But we wouldn't know what that was. So when you have a graph, you have to make sure that you label your different data points. And so when you label it and you make it this, whatever the labels are, is called the legend. And so the legend helps the reader understand the graph. Because if this, again, if this wasn't here, I would have no idea what was being measured. I wouldn't know what was most liked, what was least liked. I would have no idea. So whoever creates the graph has to make a legend so that the reader understands. Okay. So now that we've gone over that, I'm going to leave this up here so that y'all can see this in case you have any questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out this graphing paper. And what I want y'all to do is y'all are going to walk around the room and you're going to find different things that you can measure. So up here we've got some paintbrushes, we've got a bottle of glue, you've got some boxes and just different things around. You've got an eraser you can measure. And I want you to walk around, get in partners, and then I want you to walk around and I want you to measure, some of the items. Now what you need to do is you need to make sure you keep track of what you're measuring and how long it is. So I don't want you to walk around and just measure this and then just put a 4 down, because what is 4? We don't know. We have no idea. So you have to take and you have to write eraser, and then you need to write 4 for what? Which side are we going to use? Inches. So you need to write 4 inches beside your eraser. So I'm going to pass out this graphing paper. Y'all can write below it here. I have written down here data. You can write whatever you measure. So everybody just go measure 5 things, and we'll just come back and I'll be walking around the room and I can help y'all if you need some help. Okay? Okay. So did everybody get everything measured? Okay, great. So now what we're going to do, you have your graphing paper. We're going to create a graph out of the data that you collected. So let me just erase not going to erase my whole graph. I'm just going to erase my bars that I have here. I'm going to erase my labels, because we need to only have on our legend the things that y'all measured. So what is something that everybody run around and measured? Did everybody measure a book? Okay, I just need a couple of examples, one from each group. So you measured a book. So, okay, sorry. So y'all did a book. You measured a paintbrush. All right, so I'm gonna write paintbrush down here. What else did everybody measure? Did you measure an eraser? Okay. All right, so that's 3 things. Okay. So how many inches was your book? It's 8 inches. So what am I gonna do? I'm going to take and I'm going to draw a building right all the way up to 8. And it's going to mark through my Y. So let me erase my Y real fast. I'm going to bring it down. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So how many inches was the paintbrush? Okay. It was 7. So we're going to go up to 7. Come down. And how many inches was the eraser? 4? 4 inches. Okay. So we're going to go up to kind of eyeball where the 4 is, right about there. We're going to come down. Okay, so from our graph, which was the longest item? The book, right? Yeah, because it goes all the way up to the top, okay? Which was our shortest item? Yeah, the eraser. That's right. Good job. All right, guys. So, now that we've done that, what I want you to do, is everybody comfortable? Is everybody feeling good? Does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, great. So now what I want you to do is at your desk, I have put out little bags of M&Ms. And so you've got some blue ones and some black ones and some red ones. And what I want you to do is, working independently in your own groups, on on your graphing paper, I want you to count how many M&Ms. I want you to separate them into different color groups. I want you to count how many you have, and then I want you to graph them on your paper. And so I'm going to walk around. I'm going to help you and just see if anybody needs some help, okay? Great. So everybody's doing really good. So now I want you to turn in your I want you to turn in your work. I want you to turn in your graphing and all your papers, and I want you to bring all this up here to me, okay? So, let's review. What did we learn about today? We learned about measuring, that's right, and we learned about graphs. What else? What do you call the numbers that you put on a graph? I've said it a couple times now. I haven't actually told you, but I've said it a couple times. Data, that's right, data. So everything that we've been collecting, the measurements that we had, the number of M&Ms that you had, it's all data that you present and you put on your graph. And so let's go over our graph real fast. Does anybody remember, what's this called? This. Remember, it goes down the y-axis. That's right, very, very good, the y-axis. So that goes down. What goes across the bottom? This line down here, the other half of our L. X-axis, right, very good. And it goes down here? What are our labels down here? The legend, that's right, the legend, very good. What are these called? Our tall buildings? Bars, that's right. So what do we have up here? What is this? Seasons, which it's going to be called classroom items now, but what is this up here? The title, very good. And then, all right, I think that's actually everything on our graph. Now that we've gone over our graphs, let's just make sure we review our ruler. All right, so what two methods of measurement are on a ruler? Okay. Inches, that's right. Which one is inches? The one with less dashes? How do you know? That's right, because it says inch right here, and you know that a ruler is 12 inches, okay? So what is on this side of the ruler? Centimeters, that's right, very, very good. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over what we've done, why is it so important that when you're collecting data that you present it and you're honest about it? Because you're presenting it, you're putting your name on it, you're saying that I did this work and this is what it says. And because depending on where you're presenting it, somebody might use it to make a decision, and it's really important that you are completely honest. Even if when you collect it, it doesn't work out, it doesn't do what you want it to do, and the data doesn't say what you want it to say, it's still really important that you're honest and you tell the truth, okay? So now what we're going to do is I have one more test for you. And so this is basically the exact same test that you took at the beginning of the lesson. Same 4 multiple choice questions, 1 fill-in. You've got a graph down here that you need to label with all of the pieces, okay? There's just one additional element. What I want you to do this time is I have something up here and it says favorite food. So I have data up here and it says bananas 10, apples 15. So this is favorite food for some data that I've made up for people. You have a blank graph here. What I want you to do is I want you to take this data and I want you to put it on this graph, okay? I want you to make sure that you have every element from here, the part that's with the parts that we've labeled here, to make sure that you have all 5 elements on your graph, okay? And then there's 4 questions that I want you to answer. 3 of them are based on this graph up here, and then 1 of them is just a general question about graphs, okay? So I want y'all to take this, take your time,